Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. Now, the United Nations force in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has condemned attacks against it by M23 rebels and urged them to immediately cease hostilities. In a statement on Twitter, the UN acknowledged the courage and determination of its forces who are responding to the attacks.
The M23 rebels accuse the UN forces of plotting with government forces and local militia groups to stage simultaneous attacks against them. Heavy fighting on Sunday and Monday morning in North Kivu pushed thousands of civilians to flee their homes, with others fleeing to Uganda. M23 spokesperson Major William Goma told the media that the UN forces were shelling at their position with helicopters. Ngoma accuses the UN mission in DR Congo of helping a coalition of the army and other militia groups to attack them. UN forces have the green light to use force to fight the rebel groups, but locals say they have done little in more than 20 years of their deployment. The recent clashes come while the government is negotiating disarmament and reintegration with several local rebel groups. Last month, as talks were starting in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, M23 representatives were ejected from the negotiations after the group was accused of hostilities.
Well, for some analysis on this ongoing conflict, we're now joined by Channel Africa producer and a commentator on African affairs, particularly around the DRC, Nixon Katembo. Mon frère, bonsoir, bienvenue.
Merci, Peter. Bonsoir.
Sadly, it seems that our conversations are similar all the time, and it's either the Allied Democratic Forces, M23. What is happening recently now with M23?
Okay, what is happening recently is that the M23 have been reinforcing their position around the hills of Chanzu, which are just on the border of Rwanda, Uganda, and the DRC in that particular corridor within the Virunga National Park. So those fights that have been ongoing, interestingly, have involved the UN peacekeeping missions, who installed some of their camps in a place like in the Virunga National Park and a place called Rumangabo, and apparently this was attacked by the M23, which prompted the United Nations to respond in support of the DRC army, as well as trying to repel the attack by the M23. So this is the basis on which the United Nations issued a communique saying that they condemned the M23. And you recall prior to that, there was a helicopter which was gunned down by this very same M23 earlier this year, in which some peacekeepers died while they are on a mission to just check the movement of the rebel activities within that region. So it's a repetitive story that we have been talking about, but one wonder the motives are actually, and this consistency non-stop of M23 attacks, and where exactly they are being supplied with the guns and ammunition to attack the position of the Congolese National Army, as well as daring given the UN peacekeeping mission there in the Eastern DRC.
Well, let's talk about the UN peacekeeping mission. We're talking about highly trained, highly resourced soldiers. Why is it that they've been struggling to cope with these rebels? The locals are saying that they've done nothing in 20 years.
Well, I think it's about the mandate that they have as a peacekeeping operations and also their chain of command. Most of the time, even when they have to react immediately, there have to be a chain of bureaucracy to the extent of even asking for permission from New York to deal with the rebels because that is how the UN works. But if you look at the current situations, that one can see clearly that they are facing these challenges against renewed fighting of the M23, interestingly enough, who are even resourced to the extent of daring these UN peacekeeping missions. One cannot help it, the fact that this afternoon, the Rwandan government issued a statement saying that the Congolese army have, in fact, launched some attacks on some of the villages on the border between Rwanda and the DRC and injuring some civilians in Rwanda. And it begs the question where the M23 have been getting supply. We know for the fact that Makenga was a part of the Rwanda National Defense Forces, RDF, during the RPF eras of capturing Kigali. And we know for the fact that many M23 rebels or soldiers, so they call, they're still on the payroll of the Rwandan National Defense Forces. And that tells you how much the implication of the neighbors within the current conflict, in some extent trying to sabotage the UN mission there, but also to the extent of finding a pretext to launch a new war, even sending troops to the DRC under the pretext that they are defending themselves. The other aspect of the current situation, however, though, is the simmering proxy battles between the two neighbors, namely Uganda and Rwanda within that particular region. And you would recall, I have previously said how Rwanda got jittery when Uganda sent military in the DRC, but also Rwanda was unhappiness about the potential of Uganda building infrastructure, namely the construction of the road along the Goma Bunagana distance, which link the two countries, especially Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. They are for cutting business, tracking business of goods, which passes normally via the Gatuna and the Gachitumba border between Uganda and Rwanda, then getting to Kigali and eventually to the DRC or in eastern parts, such as places like Bukavu and Goma. So you have all these myriad of issues happening that MONUSCO, as a UN peacekeeping mission, is not able to deal with without a clear mandate from the United Nations to intervene militarily without the bureaucratic nature of the UN peacekeeping missions there. And that is the very reason why they are struggling, because of that particular aspect of their operation in Eastern DRC. You would recall when they were given a clear mandate, the Force Intervention Brigade, led by Tanzanian
Hello, Nixon, can you hear me? All right, that's Nixon Katembo giving us Nixon, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still there.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much. We had missed the last bit of what you were saying, but I think you were explaining that a lot of it has to do with the mandate. If the mandate is increased, will that solve the problem? Or we have to go for political solutions with outside forces?
No, look, whether they increase the mandate, it's really a serious problem that is going to remain without a possible political talk between the DRC, Rwanda, and Uganda sitting on the same table with the genuine, sincere will, political will to solve the security in the Great Lakes region. Other than that, whatever the force intervention brigade, whatever UN peacekeeping mission come into the DRC is bound to fail because of these various interests from the neighbors, including, of course, the institutional framework within the DRC, the need for security sector reform within the Congolese army, because what the rebels are claiming at the current negotiation table in Nairobi, that they want to integrate it to the national army in the DRC. It is interesting, though, to say that Rwanda has said that it held about 6,000 M23 rebels and refugees, and one would know for sure that the claim has always been to integrate into the national army, and the fear, though, from the political pundits within the eastern DRC and across the Great Lakes region in Uganda and Kenya, including Tanzania, they are saying no. This cannot be tolerated once more to have a rebel enter to the national army without clear consequences. The DRC, on the other hand, is saying that yes, you want to come, but come, lay your arms down, and we will reintegrate you in a normal civilian life, which the M23 are not willing to. So the point I'm trying to make here is that by the virtue of Rwanda saying that they have about 6,000 M23 combatants, it's a clear sign that, again, we are going back to where the Nairobi, the Sun City Accord were, including the Lusaka Peace Accord were, including the Nairobi discussion were, in which evolved the inserting the rebels into the national army, and therefore, again, you have Rwanda infiltration, as they call it, into the DRC, infiltrating the Congolese national army through the so-called mixage or brassage of the M23 rebel to the national army. Something that civil society within Eastern DRC, the government there, have said no, the current demand of the M23 cannot be met. And if they cannot be met, the question then, when will the Eastern DRC peace under such a chaotic situation?
My dear brother, always good talking to you. Insights always greatly appreciated. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, that's one of our colleagues there with Channel Africa. He's a producer there, but a Great Lakes commentator as well, understanding African affairs. All right, so still so much more to come. US President Joe Biden said that he will defend Taiwan if it's attacked. And this is a man who says that the situation between China and Taiwan is similar to Russia and the Ukraine. What does this all mean? Stay with us. We're going to try and unpack that for you in a few moments.